Dear students, welcome all of you. I hope you are staying home and staying safe. I am Monica Singh, your science teacher, and today we will discuss about chapter Force. So let's take out your pen and your notebook and start making points, because in the end of this video, I will give you a small assignment. Now let's try to understand about the chapter. In your previous classes, you have learned how objects move. So let's recall some everyday experiences with some questions and with the help of these pictures. My first question is, how do goalkeeper stops a ball? My second question, what do you do to make a football move? My third question, how do fielder stops a ball hit by a batsman? And my fourth question is, how a hockey player changes the direction of the moving ball with a flick of the stick. So, in all these situations, the ball is either made to move faster or slower, or its direction of motion is changed. So, we often say that a force has been applied on a ball with a kicked, when it is pushed, and when it is thrown, or when it is flicked. So basically we have to say that you cannot see a force, but you can see what it does. You can also feel the effects of the force on your body. So the question is, what is force? Let's try to understand. In science, a push or a pull on an object is called a force. Sometimes that causes an object move, changes its speed, its direction, and its shape. So, we have to say that in science, a push or a pull on an object is called force. In this picture, a man is pushing the object and one man is pulling the object. So we have to conclude that a force is basically a push or a pull. Let's see some examples. First example is, what makes the ball move? The man pushes the ball with his racket. Second example is, what makes the car move? The man pushes the car. My third question is, what makes the wagon move? The child pulls the wagons. In all these pictures, the objects are being moved by a push or a pull. So we have to say that, we have to conclude that force is basically a push or a pull acting on an object. So write down the definition of the force. A push or a pull acting on an object is called a force. So let's move some types of forces. There are main two types of forces. The first one is your contact forces and the second one is your non-contact forces. So let's see in detail. The first one is contact force. So contact force is basically when the two bodies or objects are in physical contact with each other. So a contact force occurs when the object or material exerting the force touches the object or material on which the force acts. So write down this. A contact force occurs when the object or material exerting the force touches the object or material on which the force acts. The second one is your non-contact force. So non-contact force is basically when two bodies are not in physically contact with each other. It occurs when the object or material do not touch each other. So write down this. A contact force occurs when the object or material do not touch each other. Let's discuss in detail. The first one is contact force. As I told you in the previous slide, when the two bodies or objects are in physically contact with each other, that is your contact force. Here, two examples of contact force. The first one is your muscular force and the second one is your frictional force. So muscular force is basically due to the action of muscles. This force changes either the position or shape, size of an object. To exert the muscular force of an object, our body has to be directly or indirectly contact with the object. So note down this. A muscular force due to the actions of muscles. The second one is your frictional force. Frictional force acting opposite to the direction of the motion. Since the force of friction arises due to the contact between the two surfaces. For example, when we stop pedaling a cycle, it slowly down and ultimately stops after moving some distance. Similarly, when we roll a ball on a plain ground, it moves some distance and then stops. This is your what? Frictional force that acts on a cycle or your ball and it has to be stops them. The second one is your non-contact force. As I told you, when the two bodies are not in physically contact with each other. Here some examples are, the first one is your magnetic force, the second one is your electrostatic force, and the third one is your gravitational force. The first one is your magnetic force. Magnetic force exerted by a magnet. So write down this. Force exerted by a magnet. That is your magnetic force and that is your non-contact force. The second one is your electrostatic force. Basically, electrostatic force exerted by a charged body or another charged body. That is your electrostatic force. So note down this. Electrostatic force exerted by a charged body or another charged body. The third one is your gravitational force. As you know, every object in the universe attracts other object towards within a force. That is your what force? Gravitational force. So, attracting force exerting between two objects is your gravitational force. Let's see the assignment. Here some questions are there. So, note down this in your assignment copy. The first question is, what is force? The second question is, what are contact forces and non-contact forces? The third question is, define muscular force and frictional force. I am repeating. First question is, what is force? Second question is, what are contact and non-contact forces? Third question is, define muscular force and frictional force. And the fourth question is, define magnetic force. Second one, electrostatic force and gravitational force. So, do it in your science copy. Till then, we will meet you in next class. Thank you. Stay safe Stay home and study hard.